morning. Welcome to Market Fatafat right here on ET Now. This is a show where we get you a wrap of all the big movers and shakers today in trade. I'm Mubina Kapasi. Markets, meantime, looking, well, sluggish. We are once again below the 11,600 mark. The sensex has lost approximately 16 odd points, but the broader markets today are really underperforming, with the benchmark, with the mid-cap index losing about 0.8%. So significant underperformance seen over there. And today, the losses are mostly being led by the PSU banking index. But this is a show where we get you all the big movers and shakers in trade. So first up, let's introduce our guests who are going to be joining us over the course of the next 25 odd minutes. We have with us Soumya Sharma, research analyst, and on the technicals, Kunal Bothra, as well as Hemant Kaparia of KR Choksi Securities joins in as well. So good morning to all of you. Thanks for joining in. And let's get started the show with the very first stock, and that is Yes Bank. It's yet another ET Now news break that has been confirmed. Remember, we at ET Now had told you just last month that the board is going to be meeting to consider a fundraising activity, and that has now been announced by the company yesterday post market hours. 26th of April is when the board will be meeting to discuss various fundraising options, how much they want to raise, among other things. So watch out for that date. And of course, it's another ET Now news break that has been confirmed. The next stock that we're focusing on is Bajaj Auto. Kunal, your take on the auto stocks? It's been one of the worst performing index in the sensex, and it's the first time, in the last, I think, 9 to 10 odd years that we've actually seen the auto index underperform the sensex.
I think, we are going through a different phase because, autos generally are one of the first sectors to show signs of bottoming out, and when there is a new trend in the making on the markets, auto, cements, these are the first two sectors which try and bottom out and give you an indication both on the economy front as well as on the market front. But this time around, the patterns are a bit different. Auto stocks are going through a bit of a grind, but for Bajaj Auto, I think the stock which was going through a bit of a grind is now taking support at the 50-day moving average. The stock was going through a bit of a rough patch in the last 2 weeks, trying to grapple with a lot of the resistances on the short-term side. But now I think the stock has found some credible supports at this 2850 to 2875 zone on the spot level. So keeping that as a stop loss, I believe Bajaj Auto could be bought into at current levels for a target of at least 2975 to 2985.
Okay, so that's Bajaj Auto, with today 1.5% higher in trade. So, Indiabulls Housing Finance, however, the losses over there continue.
Well, yes, this is the second straight day of the losses, and the stock has dropped by over 7% on the news of merger with the Lakshmi Vilas Bank. Well, as per the scheme, what we know is this amalgamation of 100 shares of Lakshmi Vilas Bank will fetch 14 shares of Indiabulls Housing Finance, but the deal is yet to get a nod from RBI, so that is still awaited, post which Indiabulls would get a banking license.
Okay, so it's 2.8% high, and yes, all eyes are on the RBI on whether or not they do give their blessing for this merger. Well, the next stock we want to flag off is one from the IT space, HCL Tech. Regardless of the weakness in the market, this is one index that's powering ahead. Hemant, your take on the HCL Tech?
Yeah, a very good morning to you. I would suggest to hold the entire IT indexes on a roll. We saw a 58% long build up in the Nifty IT index. So hold with a stop loss of 1105 or a target of 1150. It's in a short, medium, long-term uptrend, and it's just recently last week posted a fresh all-time high. So I believe a further upside seems to be on the cards.
The gains coming in for HCL Tech, and we'll follow it up then with another IT company, and that's Wipro. That one's as well been gaining for the third straight day, now at a level of around 270 rupees. Like I said, the Nifty IT index has certainly been one big gainer. For the third straight day is when we are seeing the IT index outperform. So great going for the technology space. I suppose it also has, perhaps to a small extent, has to do with the fact that the rupee has been seeing some depreciation versus the US dollar, which definitely would bode well for an export major like the IT space. Kunal, Divi's Lab, why is that on your radar?
So, many of the pharma stocks are trying to go through a bit of a grind in terms of range. Divi's Lab, on one hand, I think has been going through an absolutely tight range. Look at the last 1 month of chart patterns for Divi's Lab, and the range is now just about narrowed to almost 35 to 40 rupees, which is not even 3 or 4%. The Bollinger Bands is one of the key indicators which one should be looking at in terms of such tight ranges. And when you see such bit of contraction on a stock which has been trending up higher, it just about indicates that the stock is on the verge of a breakout pretty soon. So I think Divi's Lab should be onto traders' radar. A buy on breakout is an advisable strategy on the stock price. The breakout point is closer to 1750, and I believe the stock could rally almost 100 to 150 rupees post that breakout. So that should be a stock on short-term traders' radar.
Okay, it's a pure short-term strategy that Kunal is recommending on today's labs. Soumya, some important news coming in on First Source Solutions.
Well, yes, talking about First Source, what's keeping the stock bullish is Jhunjhunwala has increased his stake in this company after the recent fall of over 50%. Well, the stake has been raised from 2.89% to 3.26% during the March quarter. The stock happens to be among the top gainers in the Nifty 500 index and has been gaining close to about 6.4% today in trade.
All right, First Source obviously reacting to that news, 6.4% higher. Himen, Tata Motors as well today seems to be gaining smartly. It's one of the top Nifty gainers, bucking the general trend seen in the market. What's your view?
I think if there is a slightly shorter term view, I would suggest booking partial profit. The stock seems to have posted an intermediate bottom. Having said that, from a slightly shorter term point of view, looks a bit oversold. Some amount of heaviness is seen. The medium term bottom outlook is turning positive. Shorter term seems a bit stretched. A correction could be around the curve.
Okay, so Himen has a slightly cautious view on the auto major. Remember, yesterday as well, they came out with their JLR sale numbers, not that bad. Okay, let's talk about then the OMCs. And it's important to address this fact, because of the way it has recovered from the day's low. Remember, on account of the fact that crude prices had touched that $71 per barrel mark once again at the highest level since November 2018. There was a bit of sluggishness that had come in yesterday in these OMCs, and today as well it opened on a weak note. But on an intraday basis, as you saw on the chart, look at the recovery witnessed in these names, and all these counters are now, as we speak, at the day's high. So quite a recovery from the day's low. IOC, HPCL, all of them are now gaining anywhere between 0.9 to 1.2%. So great going for OMCs. Kunal, another PSU. This one's been on your radar for some time. NTPC, why does this stock interest you?
So the stock is forming a bullish flag pattern on the daily and the hourly. In fact, it's more visible on the hourly charts, because then you can see the stock going through a narrow bit of consolidation. 134 and a half, 135 as a support, and closer to 137 is the stock going through a grind range. It's a low beta stock. The stock goes into a very strong and subtle uptrends when it breaks out of such bullish price patterns, and I believe that the stock is poised for a similar such breakout on the short-term chart. So NTPC again could be a breakout candidate from current levels, and given the fact that it's a low beta stock, I think the stock can climb to almost 144, 145 levels post the breakout. So that should be into short-term traders' radar, especially for a market which is now becoming very, very volatile, and a stock which is extremely low beta.
Okay, but one stock that's among the top Nifty losers is Asian Paints. Yes, of course, the Brent story plays out over here, but more importantly, Soumya, it's a big downgrade.
CLSA have downgraded the stock from outperform to sell, and they've also revised the target price from 1,565 to 1,400 per share. Well, they say that there are rising concerns on macro and weak consumer sentiments and the risk of valuations in this context of macro slowdown. They also say that there are concerns on the margins with rising crude price, which is, like you said, it's a key input in the paints, and also they say that there are concerns on product price hikes which may hurt near-term margins. So that's what keeping the stock down by over 3.4%.
Okay, so it's 3.4% down and 1450 gone for Asian Paints. He made Vodafone Idea. Yesterday we did see that gain, but today on heavy volumes we are seeing red on screen for Vodafone Idea.
Well, frankly speaking, it's a perennial short sort of a look, the way I look at it. I mean, it's the next RCOM in the making. I mean, any bounce you short it. Having said that, it's a sell on bounce. We are in a short, medium, long-term downtrend. Outlook remains negative. No bounces have been able to sustain for the last some time. I don't think that changes. Yes, oversold situation could see some more recovery from current levels, making it right for a short.
Okay, 2.3% gone, and it's a very outright sell on every bounce that you see on Vodafone Idea. And it's officially earnings season as well, along with election season, so we have a busy couple of days ahead of us. Delta Corp has kickstarted the earnings season. The numbers for now look just about good. Revenues are up 19.1% at 204 crore rupees. Net profit as well has jumped by 25% at a little over 56 crore rupees. So not bad at all for a Delta Corp. I'm very quickly going to also pull up what exactly this casino major did on the EBITDA margin front, because that as well is something that does drive the bottom line. And on the EBITDA margin front, it's come in as a slight compression, 74.1% versus 75.1%. So nothing much to worry about. So the numbers I say would be a bit okay. After all, give and take, it's a loss of about 0.6% for Delta. Soumya, Bharti Airtel, all telecom companies on a fundraising drive. This one has got an approval for the same.
Yes, Airtel has got a SEBI approval for 25,000 crore of rights issue. Well, this move paves way for the company and the telecom to build war chest for 4G push and also to take on with the competitor Reliance Jio. But the stock has been falling by over 3.2%.
Okay, 343 for Bharti Airtel. And of course, how can we not flag off India Bulls real estate on account of the mighty move seen over here, not just today, but for the last 3 trading sessions. Remember, yesterday it was a neat 10 to 11% uptick that we saw on this realty major. Today, after that sharp spike that we've seen 2 times on an intraday basis today, it's now 8.3% higher. So once again, it's a very, very sharp up move seen in IB real estate, which has caused the stock price to cross beyond 100 rupees. And this has caused it to go at the highest level since September 2018. Well, on that note, we'll just take a very quick breather right here on Market Fatafat, but do stay tuned. The countdown will continue when we return. Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET now. Okay, a quick check at the Indian currency and look at the way it's actually recovered. We had opened with a level of about 69.7, but now as we speak, I suppose it has to also do with the cool-off seen in crude. It's now at 69.5. So quite a recovery witnessed from the day's low for the Indian currency. Well, let's move on and talk about the big movers and shakers. ITI is one stock that's really buzzing in trade today. It's not a stock we talk about very often. Soumya, what's the news here?
Well, there's some updates coming in from the company. The company has achieved a turnover of close to about 2,502 crore rupees, showing a double-digit growth and an increase of over 20% over the previous year's turnover of 1,703 crores. So that's what keeping the stock bullish, and it's gaining by over 6.2%.
Oh yeah, great gain seen over here in this stock. Well, talking about the pharma space, Biocon is something we want to flag off, as Citi has actually delivered quite a positive note on the pharma major. They've actually got a buy with a target at 800 rupees per share, as they believe that they do expect the Fulfilla ramp up to be a key earnings driver going forward, and they expect the next few quarters to see an earnings upgrade, and hence Biocon remains the top pick for Citi in the pharma space. Kunal, MGL, why are you flagging this one off?
So the stock has been holding quite well. It's trading above those 1,000 levels. Also, I think the stock has had a correction from 1,060 to almost 1,000 just about a week or 2 back, and now it's recovering quite well. In terms of the short-term chart patterns, there are some RSI breakouts which have transpired for MGL, and which is why I believe that the stock could be in line of testing its previous swing high of this 1,060 mark at least. And if it's a start of a new trend, it should try and cross the levels beyond that as well. So as a short-term trader, I think the risk reward is in favor of initiating a fresh long on MGL at current levels for a short-term target of 1,060, and on a positional basis beyond that to almost 1,100, 1120.
Okay, so there you have it. That's the view on MGL. It's 1% higher. Soumya, what's the news on Shilpa Medicare?
Well, some happy news coming in for the company. It has received US FDA approval for a cancer drug. It's used to treat cancer. So that's what is keeping the stock high by over 1%, a little over 1%.
Okay, 1% higher at 335 rupees for this pharma company. Himin Praj Industries, today we are seeing green on the screen, red on the screen rather. In fact, it's one of the top losers as well on the Nifty 500. With this loss of 3%, what would you make of and what would your strategy be?
Frankly speaking, Mubina, I think it looks like a sell-on bounce. We seem to have made an intermediate high. It seems an intermediate peak. Some of the weekly mechanical indicator like the MACD signaled the sell, and it's opened up, indicating that I don't see a near-term revival coming in. So it is a sell-on bounce, some mild oversold situation, clear weakness coming in. So one whole entire run-up has exhausted itself. So any move now can be sold into.
All right, so that's Praj Industries. Himin seems to be a bit cautious on this counter. BHEL, and it's yet another brokerage note that has come in on this capital goods major, but not exactly a very optimistic one, because they maintain a neutral stance with a target at 66 rupees per share, because they are particularly cautious on what the company can do when it comes to its order flow, and hence they have that neutral stance on on BHEL, because they have said that there's been this deferral of award of thermal prospects in fiscal 19, which will translate into the company reporting its weakest inflow tally since FY12. FY20 of course may benefit because of the bunching up of orders, but for now they are a bit cautious on that front, and hence they have a neutral stance. Weakest order inflow performance since FY12. The stock is down 1.6% as the day's low. Kunal, another auto name in your list, Ashok Leyland?
Yes, Mubina, and surprisingly the stock is holding on to those levels of 80-85 as a support zone. So I was looking at the line charts for Ashok Leyland spread across the last 2 months, from the time when the stock bottomed out at the 78 levels, rallied till 94, 95, and then consolidated post that. It's forming a typical bullish flag pattern, even though you need a confirmation of a breakout. But the fact that the stock has been rallying and consolidating indicates that you could see the stock coming back into some thick of price action, on a positive price action going forward. So Ashok Leyland should be on to traders' radar. I would expect the stock should retest that 95 mark pretty soon.
All right, so that's Ashok Leyland at the day's high as we speak. Soumya, Sobha had come out with its pre-sale numbers, and now we have brokerage reactions there.
Yes, and Morgan Stanley is maintaining an overweight stance on the stock with a target price of 605 per share. They say that Sobha had a good end to FY19 with pre-sales of, and they expect the pre-sales to remain steady going forward also, which were driven by both ongoing and new projects. So that's the stock is gaining for overweight stance and 605 per share.
Okay, 502 rupees for Sobha. Himen, Gujarat Gas, we are seeing some pricing action over here. What would be your recommendation?
One gets the feeling that despite making a new high, Mubina, just yesterday we posted a new high, and this is also the last 1 month high. The indicators have not responded. There's negative divergence coming in. I believe that a correction seems to be setting in. So I would book profit, if not partial profit, because this move doesn't seem to be supported by the mechanical indicators, Mubina.
Okay, so not exactly confident on Gujarat Gas, even though it just recently did touch its 1 month high. But Hemendra is advising that now would be a good time to book your profits. Panesha Biotech, meantime, again, a stock that we don't talk about very often, but some important news coming in for this company. Yesterday, it made an announcement that a key player, and that is India RF, has announced a $144 million investment in Panesha Biotech. And that's something that's causing that massive uptick come by. Remember, India Resurgence Fund is actually promoted by Piramal Enterprises and Bain Capital Credit along with its affiliates. So it's approximately 992 crore rupee of an investment that they are making in Panesha Biotech. The investment proceeds will be used for a one-time settlement with the existing lenders, the general working capital, as well as the growth requirements of the company. So it's something that's very positive news for Panesha Biotech, and it's 12% higher. Kunal, another IT stock you're flagging off, Tech Mahindra?
Yes, Mubina, and most of the IT stocks are now trying to make a good comeback. Tech Mahindra is forming a triangular pattern on the hourly charts, and the breakout is closer to 792, 793, where the stock is exactly trading. It had a decent rise in the first hour of trading today, but then it slipped back below to those neckline levels. I believe the stock continues to sustain the 792 mark, then it could rise higher till almost 824, 825.
Okay, moving on to the next stock. Soumya, HSBC has quite a negative view on Container Corporation. Why is that?
Well, yes, they're maintaining the reduced stance, but have revised the target price from 448 to 450 per share, and they say that the volume growth has slowed sharply in the last 2 quarters, and the 2018 tariff hike should not be extrapolated at strong pricing power, and they're seeing increased amount of competition in the intensity following the recent events. So they're maintaining reduced stance on Concor.
All right. Well, moving on to the next stock, Torrent Pharma. Hemendra, here too, we've been seeing a lot of pricing action off late. What would you recommend?
I'm basically bullish on the pharma sector as a whole, Mubina. But coming back to Torrent Pharma, it's outperformed. If one has a slightly medium term or a longer term point of view, extreme short term for a day or two, we are in a bounce, and the bounce looks like bouncing some more. But from a slightly medium to longer term point of view, stock has made a new all-time high. Negative divergence on the weekly, monthly chart. 1950, it has never closed above. If it closes below 1750, a double top would get confirmed. So frankly speaking, from a medium to longer term point of view, doesn't look very good. Negative divergence, lower top, lower bottom on the daily chart, notwithstanding the small bounce coming in. So short term hold, medium term or longer term sell on bounce.
Okay, that's a strategy Himane is recommending. JSPL, meantime, as well, is a big mover on the downside. However, as you can see on your screens, it's just cracked and it's now at the day's low, 3.5% lower. And that's really the scene in the entire metals basket, especially the ferrous space. Jindal Stainless, Jindal Steel, JSW Steel, all of them are cracking. And how? Remember that I think one concerning factor could be that costs are once again on the move and on the move up actually, because Chinese iron ore prices, the current contract at least, is at a record high, $105 per ton for Chinese iron ore prices. And while domestic iron ore prices don't exactly ape the way international prices have been moving, the direction is sort of broadly adopted from global markets. So it's important to then take note of what the impact would be of iron ore prices on domestic steel firms. Well, with that, we're all out of time. So thanks to all of you for joining in. Himane and Kunal, to you as well for giving your technical strategies. We'll wrap it up. Coming up next is Markets at Noon.